We are going to leave Rachel Notchley's news conference there. We've heard all the reporters' questions who are on the scene there, and we're going to check in now with the CBC's Aaron Collins, who is in Calgary with the Western reaction. So, listening in as the Premier spoke there, what did you hear there, Aaron?
Well, I heard a Premier who was framing today's announcement as a win, clearly. You heard this sort of spontaneous, or perhaps somewhat less than spontaneous applause that erupted from behind Premier Notley as she spoke about this and walked through the process that her government has gone through to get to this point. The thing that really struck me is how many times the Premier used the word certainty. And I think that throughout this process, certainty has been the key word. Certainty that a project that has been approved and is deemed to be in the national interest would be able to get built. Having that certainty is something that obviously investors have been looking for and have felt that they haven't had, at least according to industry, in recent months. So when you talk to industry here, what you're hearing is, one, they're trying to figure out who got the better deal. That's sort of in their DNA. They can't help but do that. So they're crunching the numbers and trying to figure out if $4.5 billion is a good deal for the federal government. The other thing that they're talking about is, while it's a good thing that this project is moving forward, and anything that gets a pipeline closer to Tidewater from Alberta is a good thing for the industry, they're also saying that they regret a little bit that it's taken this much to get an approved project moving forward. So there is sort of a bittersweet element to that. I think you heard a little bit of that from the Premier as well, and you've heard it from other politicians here in the province of Alberta this morning. We heard from Mayor Naheed Nenshi, who's been a bit antagonistic with Premier John Horgan in recent weeks and months about his role in delaying this project. And Mayor Nenshi tweeted out, I'll read it to you now, "While it's a shame that the British Columbia government's antics have led to this, I'm very pleased that the federal government has taken this step to get this vital pipeline built." So, the word antics, of course, maybe showing some cards there from the mayor's perspective, as seeing that these delaying tactics were really something that was undermining the certainty that industry so craves in a project like this.
Okay, you mentioned BC. Let's check over the Rockies to find out what the reaction is there. I imagine this is an issue that has pitted Premier against Premier, and I imagine not much change with this news today.
Yeah, Premier against Premier, and I don't think you're going to see a big change there. You, of course, heard Elizabeth May sort of speaking earlier as well, talking a little bit about how they still don't think this is a good deal. And I think you get a sense from Premier John Horgan that this is not a fight that he's willing to let go of just yet. Have a listen to what he said early this morning.
What we've tried to do from the beginning is to make an argument on behalf of British Columbia that the Ocean Protection Plan, as it was configured by the federal government, was inadequate to give comfort to British Columbians that their interests were going to be fully protected. I'm going to continue to work with the federal government on that question.
So Premier John Horgan obviously not throwing in the towel at this point, still saying he's going to be working with the federal government. But from Alberta's perspective, of course, and from the federal government's perspective, there is that certainty this project is moving forward and it is going to get built.
Aaron Collins, thanks so much.
You bet.